Great job on that exit ticket. Let's go ahead and go over it. So number one, we have x to the fourth times x to the third. This is what we would call a product of powers. How do I know? Because I'm multiplying three different powers all with the same base. So let's go over our expand. Let's start with the first power. X to the fourth is x multiplied by itself 4 times. Now, a lot of us oftentimes forget this one. Remember, x by itself is really just x to the first power. That's still part of it. That's still there. So times x, and then times 3 more x's, x times x times x. So we have x to the fourth times x to the first times x to the third. How many total x's? Well, we have 4 here. 1 more is 5. 3 more is 8. 4 plus 1 plus 3, that would be x to the 8th power as our final answer for number 1. Okay, let's try number 2. Now, number 2 is what we would call a quotient of powers. And the reason I know it's a quotient of powers is because it is division. We have 2 powers and they both have y, meaning they have the same base. So let's go ahead and expand. When you expand a quotient of powers, the first thing you always want to do is put in your fraction bar, and we'll start with y to the 7th. That means y multiplied by itself 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Perfect. That's in the numerator. In the denominator, we have y multiplied by itself 4 times. Now, a common mistake that happens is that we just accidentally don't write as enough y's, or we write too many. So it's always a good idea to go in there and double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now, remember, when it comes to quotients, we look for big ones. And big ones mean the same number divided by itself. What's y divided by y? That would be like saying what's 5 divided by 5? 10 divided by 10. That equals 1. So anywhere you see a y divided by y, you can go in and make a big 1. Now notice I still have y's in the numerator, but I don't have anything left in the denominator. That means I'm left with 1 in the denominator because all of these y's turn into 1s. And all of these y's turn into 1s, but I'm still left with y times y times y in the numerator. All right, let's simplify. So in the numerator, I have y multiplied by itself 3 times. So that would be y to the 3rd power. And in the denominator, I have 1. Can I write that as just y to the 3rd power? Yes, I can, because when I have 1 in the denominator, anything divided by 1 is a whole number or a whole power. Your final answer here is y to the power of 3. Now, if that 1 had been in the numerator, that's a different story because 1 divided by a number means that number is a fraction. All right, last exit ticket, number 3. This one is a power of a power. How do I know? Well, I have a power inside of the parentheses raised to another power, or the other way that we can tell is because we have 2 exponents. We have a 3 inside and a 3 outside. So remember, this is done in 2 steps. Step 1, take the outside power and expand what's inside. So this power of 3 means I'm taking z to the power of 3 and multiplying it by itself 3 times. Here we go. Z to the power of 3 times z to the power of 3 times z to the power of 3. That's step 1. But we're not done yet. Step 2, expand all those z's to the power of 3's. What does that mean? That means z times z times z. So here we go. Z times 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 z. That's a lot of z's. Now that it's written all the way out, it's fully expanded. Now that we've expanded, let's simplify. How many total z's? We have 3 groups of 3. 3, 6, 9. That's a grand total of 9 z's. So we're going to write that as z to the 9th power. And then our first answer was x to the 8th. And that is your answer. Those are your answers to your exit ticket. So go back to your exit ticket from before, and I want you to look at your work. Does the work show all the expansion? Did you forget to include some factors? These are common mistakes that we all make, and that's totally fine and actually really good if you're making those mistakes. If you did make mistakes, try to understand what they were so that you can learn from them for next time. All right, that's everything for today's lesson on properties of exponents. Awesome, awesome job. Way to keep up with the work, and we'll see you next time.